Hey everybody, John with Owl, and exciting video today, and that is because we are going to install what has become one of the most popular products we make. It's the product that I'm mad I didn't invent. It's the product that Jason from Canyon did, and it is the Stop Stay, I have to say this right, the Stop Stay rear door struts. And here it is. Really did a beautiful job with the packaging, so you can really feel great about that as you throw it away. But as you look inside the product, and I should probably tilt you down so you can see what I'm talking about. Look at this beautiful blue cart. Love blue. All right, so what you've got in the kit, and for those of you that don't know, please feel free to watch our other videos on this kit, because what it does is it allows the rear doors to not only stay open, but to open kind of automatically. And so this is one of the pistons, so the kit is going to include 2 stop-stay pistons, and then under these little bins are going to be brackets. These are powder-coated aluminum brackets. So you've got one for each door. The kit includes both doors. You've got your bag of hardware, so you're going to need to install some Riv Nuts into the back tray. Then we've got some spacers, a cool little sticker. All right, so we're ready to get started. And you're going to need some tools for this. I'll back my cart up so you can kind of see what I'm working with here. We've got a drill. I've got basically an impact that I'm going to use to take out some of the Torx on the doors. And then you're also going to need a Riv Nut gun, and that is because you have these Riv Nuts. Now, if you don't have a Riv Nut gun, you can get them on Amazon for like 20 bucks. We have a pneumatic one. You don't need that. Just a regular Amazon Riv Nut gun will work. They're pretty handy for the rest of your van. And again, if any of this, I don't think any of this is hard or over the head of a DIYer if you want to try it, but we also have our Owl Off-Road, so we can install these for you if you have, if you're so inclined. But I really encourage people to try to DIY stuff themselves. So the first thing that we're going to do is start on the door sides and install the brackets on those. So those will be these kind of funny shaped things with the ball head already installed, and then they also say D and P. And I'm going to let you put your hamster on a wheel and figure out what that means. It, of course, is passenger and driver, so we're going to grab the driver first, and we're going to grab our Torx. So what I am going to do after I find the right Torx, it is a T30. And then because I like to get things back in the same exact spot, I am going to mark my hinge. So I'll bring you in a little bit closer. Not hinge. I don't know why I said hinge. So what I'm going to do is on this bracket, I'm just going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to draw as high as I can get so that I know exactly where that bracket was to start. And then of course I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And if you ever want to take this Sharpie off, just get some alcohol and you can get it off. But in this one, I'm going to go behind it and I'm going to make some little marks as to where it's on the side of it, as to where the kind of the door, even though the door's slanting up, kind of where this crosses over with that door. So that's there. He seems scared. He seems scared that we're going to take him off and install these rear door struts. It'll be okay, little buddy. You don't worry about it. So this is the passenger side. So what we're going to do is take, now that we're over here, we'll take this side off. Took my brain a little bit to get the orientation correct here. But if I had been smarter, like all of you at home, the little P on the side of the bracket needs to be right there. If you make that look like it's supposed to look, that is the correct orientation for the bracket. And notice I'm not installing this very tight, and there's a reason. I'm leaving it so it can kind of have a little motion. And that is because I'm going to close the door right now, and I'm going to make sure that this kind of self-centers on that pin. So you want it to have a little bit of resistance. See, it's still mobile, but it's not super loose. So wherever it's going to self-center when we close the door, and you see that pin right there, and so that pin is going to come right in there, and if you've done everything right, it should be perfectly centered on that pin, that hole that we installed. So that all looks good to me, so we will continue on with the installation. Then I'm going to gun this home. Perfectly. Again, none of this is very hard, and I don't want to scare you. This is all easily adjusted. And so I'm just showing you the way that we do things because we're pretty hypersensitive to getting things the way they are. These doors can be kind of funky as far as their adjustment sometimes when you get the van, so you may have to actually end up in a better spot adjustment wise. But we're now going to take these out. So now see how this thing is all loose in there? And so that's why we marked that with black marker, so that you can see what's doing and get your thing back in the correct location. You may have to hold this a little forward to get the threads to grab. So now you can see exactly why we drew that marker on there, because now you can see the marker is hanging really low. And I can actually, well, if I hadn't tightened this so much, I could push that up, which is exactly what I'm going to do right now. So that was pretty fiddly, and the reason it's a little bit fiddly is this bracket comes right in against that plastic and it's impinging a little bit, but you can see we got that black marker exactly where it needs to go. I had to press up on this a little bit. So theoretically, our door should still be perfectly aligned. Oh, look at that. Spot on. And you can see everything is going into that tongue and receiver are going in very, very well. So we'll consider that first part job done. Now we're going to move on to the rest of the installation. And I'm really going slow here. This all in is probably going to be about an hour, but it depends on what tools you have and how fast you work. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove these little, they kind of look like railroad spikes, these things here. And so to do that, you're going to need a smaller, which I had here, a smaller Phillips or like tool. You're simply going to stick the tool in the front of it where there's a little slot and then lift up, and you'll hear a little pop and they'll come out. And this is what they look. It's like dentistry. It's like we're doing dentistry without all the years of school. Did you know that urban legend is that dentists have the highest suicide rate? But I heard that's not true. I mean, it's probably a pretty good job. These can be a little fiddly to get out. Once they're out, you can share your children. I need to be put in an institution. Once you get that out, you can't, because I forgot to take out the screen. So if you have, I'm doing this on a Revel, so you will also need a Phillips to take out the screen, which I of course forgot, and we'll go get now. All right, so you can go ahead and take these screws out so that you can peel this back. Same thing on the other side. So once you've got your molars out, we are going to use these again. And again, we have driver and passengers. So we're going to start with the driver. We can just tuck this away over there. And when you line this up, so we're going to put this plate just over that edge, right? But not over that edge. So just over that edge and then push back as far as you can. And then I've got this painter's tape that I'm going to put on here, theoretically. So first thing we're going to do is mark this as an edge. All right. And then I'm going to mark the front. So push this all the way back. So now, without drawing on the rear deck at all and having those Sharpie lines show, we've got an area that is the very edge of the plate, which now means you can take your Sharpie and you can draw a cut line. If you want to use the plate as a template, you can, but we're going to draw just maybe a 1/4 inch inside of that tape. So hopefully you can see that box, and that is going to be where we cut. Next thing you're going to do after you've got that square all marked out is you're going to come in here just above the rubber gasket and you're going to pop this up and pull it slightly forward because it's got some teeth in it, and then it's also got this little flange that goes under, and then under here are some little pegs that get expanded by those molars that we stuck in. So we're just going to lift this up because we can cut it without taking the whole panel out, and taking the whole panel out is a little bit of a pain. So I've got an air saw here, but any sort of jigsaw, you could probably even do it with a really sharp razor blade if you went slowly and over and over and over. You can really smell the toxic chemicals. It's glorious. Oh, that stinks. Sometimes when you have a fast-moving blade, the plastic actually remelts to itself while you're cutting it. So that's fun. So we got that all out now, and you can see it's a little rough around the edges, literally. So I'm going to grab a razor blade and just kind of, even though it won't be seen, I don't like all these things. It's just my OCD. So now we've got a pretty decent cut. So you guys can see that. And then what we're going to do is put this back down, and that's going to require us to tilt the back of this tray and push all of these pegs back into their holes. It takes a little bit of persuasion. There we go. All right, so that's back in place now, and you can see it's these have little posts on them that need to fall back into their slots. Then you're going to take this, and you can see how nice that fits. Now when you install this, you want to push it all the way back against this, and then you want to push it all the way back against the back side of this plate here. And then you can grab a Sharpie and you can mark your holes. And of course, my Sharpie's not long enough. So I'm going to find something better, which in my mind is a punch. Okay, quick note. Later in the video, you figure out that I screwed something up, and that is you really only need to install 1, 2, 3 of these, 1, 2, 3, because the fourth one is where the ball sits. So the extra Riv Nuts in case you screw something up. So don't be like me and put in a fourth Riv Nut and then later realize you don't need it. So not everyone is going to have a punch, a center punch. So a pencil that's longer, or a longer tipped Sharpie, or you could even take a small drill bit and try to center these so that you get these holes marked. But I'm just going to put this down the middle.
Then you can go back and enlarge them.
They're kind of hard to see, but I can see them here. So there's one, there's one, there's one, where's that one? Right there. So now we've got those. And here's what I like to do now is create a little bird's nest, because there are lots of metal filings that will happen when you drill into this, and we want to keep as many of those from going under the vehicle or under this plate as possible.
And so by putting tape here and making a little basket, we're going to keep all those little metal shavings in here. All right. You see my cute little basket?
So we've done a cute little basket. Now you could also just lift this up and vacuum underneath, but I want to make sure I've already actually cleaned under this tray, where there can often be little metal shavings that can be a source of rust. So when I drill these, I'm going to try to keep all the shavings out of the rest of this, and you can even, if you haven't already, tape over that little hole right there, and we should be good to drill. Now you've got a drill bit that came with the kit. Use that now.
I'm just going to vacuum as I go to keep the stuff at. The reason I'm vacuuming as I go is I don't want any shavings to fall down in the holes either. And I'm being obsessive about this. It's not that big of a deal. So don't worry too much.
Next, we're going to swap this bit out for the step bit. With the step bit, you're just going to go all the way down to the biggest size. Now it is time for my favorite product, Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer. Rust-Oleum, if you're out there, you need to sponsor us. We use so much of this stuff, and we tell people how awesome it is. And I'd like some sponsorship, please. Maybe like a Rust-Oleum jacket, maybe a little bit of free paint. I don't know. So now we're just going to spray all these holes again as a rust preventative. And the bonus of my little tape nest is that I kind of keep the paint off everything else. Give it a liberal spray. And the nice thing about Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer, hint, hint, is that not only does it inhibit the formation of rust, but it dries very quickly. And it holds up to abuse better than most competitive products. I'm actually not sponsored by them, but hey, I'll take any sponsorship that can come my way. So I'm blowing on this, which is stupid because what I should be doing is the other side. So let's do that. And you can actually see on our other side that when we actually put this back down, it is going to cover that hole that we cut. So we can actually take this tape off now. Paint's still a little bit wet. And we'll let that dry, but now you can see it does indeed cover, oops, there we go. It does indeed cover the hole that we made. So now we're going to let that dry and we're going to bounce back to this side. If you're unfamiliar with a Riv Nut, the way this works is it essentially is how you put a bolt into something that does not have a nut accessible on the other side. There's no way to get to the other side of this. So what happens is the Riv Nut tool will thread in, and then I have an air one, so as I pull the trigger, it will pull the piston back and it will make a large shoulder behind the sheet metal that will crimp the sheet metal between this lip and the other lip. Now, it's serrated, and you want to make sure these are pretty tight, because the last thing you want is to spin a Riv Nut. If you don't make it tight enough, you start to put the bolt in and the Riv Nut starts spinning, and then you're kind of hosed. You're going to have to start cutting stuff off and drilling it out. So you definitely want to follow the instructions on your Riv Nut gun, and usually when you buy a Riv Nut gun from Amazon, you can buy extra Riv Nuts, which are nice to have for your van. Buy a couple of extra and just test it on a piece of scrap crap you have lying around your house. But anyway, we're going to install these now. That's quite easy to install. Here we go. So the Riv Nut gun that you have will likely be a pump action, and the one you want to buy is the one that looks like a bolt cutter. And so what will happen is you'll thread the Riv Nut onto your Riv Nut gun when you have the proper tip on it, and then you'll squeeze it once, screw it in more, squeeze it twice, screw it in more, until you get a nice amount of resistance, and then you unscrew the whole thing and your Riv Nut is in. Now this is a little different because this is just this easy.
Thread on another one.
All right, so there you have it. You've got your Riv Nuts installed, and then you see they all line up with the plate, and we are going to be able to put in our hardware. All right, folks, I made a mistake. I know, it happens to the best of us. Canyon includes 2 extra Riv Nuts in case you screw one up. So I drilled a 4th hole, which is unnecessary, which is where the ball end goes. So realistically, you need 1, 2, 3 holes, not 4. So I have an extra hole. I have extra hardware, so I will, if it fits, I'll put that hardware in there, and if not, I'm not going to worry about it. But don't be like me. So I will go back and edit this in so that you don't drill 4 holes. We're getting close. It is time to install the ball. You've got this plate, which is passenger, and it's going to go, as you hold this up, the ball, you're going to put the thick black washer on the top first, and that goes under the ball. And then they also include this little washer, but don't use it because you can't catch the nylock. So you want the nylock to catch. And so this is a 1/2 inch on top and bottom. And although we have multiple 1/2 inch wrenches here, most people don't. So I'm going to use an open-ended wrench for the top, and I'm going to use my 1/2 inch on the bottom. Now do not over torque this. The whole point of a nylock is because it won't loosen. So if you over torque this, you will snap it off, and then you will not be able to have doors that magically open and close and make your life totally worth living. So I snugged this down. The nylock, let's do it this way. The nylock is caught, and we're ready to install. All right, so it's time to install your plate. Now, when you install the plate, you're going to need spacers. We have spacers here. You've got a 1/2 inch, which goes in front. You're going to put that right over your hole, and then you've got 2 3/8 spacers that go in the back. And you just want to set these over the holes and try to make it as accurate as possible. And then what you have to do is not knock them off when you're putting the plate on. So I got those right. There's my extra 4th hole that will be a special secret between you and me and my van. So now what I'm going to do is drop these in the plate beforehand so I can kind of drop them into the spacers. Theoretically, getting them all to work. One good way, if you're having trouble finding the threads of something, first of all, you can look down and I can see I'm a little bit over, so I got to push this over. So if you turn it backwards, see if you can hear this. Well, actually I have a mic on. So you turn it. There, that click. So if you back turn the bolt, that will help you find the threads, okay? So if you're having trouble getting it started, turn it backwards, put pressure on it, turn it backwards slowly, and all of a sudden you go click. That's when the 2 surfaces that are supposed to start intertwining click over each other and drop in. So it's just a trick for not cross-threading bolts, because you absolutely do not want to cross-thread riv nuts. If you cross-thread a riv nut, it will spin. Now you should be a better person than me and get an Allen, but the Torx that we used on the door fits these Allens. I didn't say I was always doing the proper thing. You want to make sure these are, as the Germans say, guten tight, because this ball gets a decent amount of force. So now we're going to do the same thing on the other side, get that ball installed, and then we're ready for the struts. This one. I threw it at him. He's trying to sneak away. I threw it at him. That's Moto. If you ever call in, that's Moto. I threw the washer we don't need at him, and then I just dropped the nylock. Top, black washer, nylock nut.
Open-ended wrench. 1/2 inch wrench. And we finish it with an airplane and don't over torque it.
All right, y'all should know by now, 1/2 inch front, 3/8 back. Also, if you want, I didn't do it on the other side, but I'm actually going to take it out and do it. It's not a necessity, but this is blue Loctite, and I like to buy Loctite in chapstick form because in Arizona it's very dry, and then you can, no. I just like it because it's less messy, and you can put a little blue Loctite on these as well, just a lot of vibration off-roading, and you don't want the stuff to back out.
Remember that game Operation as a kid? I feel like it's a little like that.
Plates are in. It is the final step. All right. Piston. Piston. I love that my voice cracks and I'm 44. All right. Ow, this hurts. Okay. You take this clip off of this and then you eat it. And you take it off the other side too. And then you take both of them. And then this is as simple as 1, 2. Then you reuse the clips to keep these from coming off. So if you ever want to take these off, a little bit fiddly to get the clips off, but that's really all you have to do. You may need to twist the piston slightly. So there, I've got that one, and I'll get you in a lot closer for this one. God, the production value on my videos is second to none. So on this one, we're going to have to rotate. See that? So this was like this, and then I had to rotate it flat, and you can see that little hole right there. This side is actually, I'm going to do this side on camera because it's way easier, because this has access, and you stick that in and flip it that way. And I could be totally rude and just say, and there you have it, do it on the other side, because the other side is a lot more of a pain because the little holes on the back side. So suffer with me. Pull the pins on the grenade. All right, because this product is the bomb. Don't worry, I don't charge extra for the stupid humor. Can you even call it humor? It's just me alone by myself doing van things. You know what I just realized, people? I just realized a trick. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put this one on like this so that you have access to the pin, and then we're gonna rotate it. That was smart. I literally just thought of that right now. I'm quite impressed with myself. So now you've got simple access to the pin. Now that's on. Now we just swing this around, and this end, much easier to rotate. So now that that pin's on, we can rotate this flat and then get the other pin. Pull the door slightly. Get that on, and then this is very accessible on this side. And you're in. Folks, we just discovered a hack together, a life hack that makes our life even better. I think we're done. Let's try it. All right, now YouTube will give me a strike for using someone's music. So what you need to do is hum some awesome music that is like Planet of the Apes or The Final Countdown, because these are rad. Let me clean up my stuff so it's like a glorious, glorious opening. So we're going to close this one. Oh, buttery smooth. Then we're going to do this one, and we're going to watch our head for the one-up rack. Thank you. FedEx guy walked through my shot. All right, we're going to do it again. The pinky. This side. This side. Pinky again. Oh, look at that. All right. Having a little bit of fun. Those are the stop-stay pistons. My hat is off to Jason at Canyon for creating one of the coolest, most compelling products for your van. It stops the doors from slamming. They work well. They look factory. I would not be surprised if Mercedes started doing this in the future from the factory. But don't do that, because that would be rude to Jason. If you have any question with these, or you don't want to install them yourself and you want the professionals at Owl Off-Road to install them, those guys right there. Look at the one in a t-shirt. That's the manager. The manager's the one in the t-shirt. Who runs this place? Reach out to support, reach out to Owl Off-Road, and we can get you a set of Canyon Adventure Van stop stays today.